Two more guests on stage. I'd like to welcome Hinchcliffe. He is another keynote who will speak tomorrow from a Jew week, coming a long way from the US to us, and as well, not less important, on stage Richard Collin from Next Modernity. So let's start with you both. We heard this morning that, we are in the state of transformation. Companies are changing, companies are realizing somehow that they need to change. We heard we need a new, we need new building blocks for the future, and it's also a new mindset. So is this already all the ingredients we need to move forward? Dan, maybe you start, and then Richard.
Well, I mean, I think you do need a imperative to change, and that's really the question. That are all of our leadership, do they believe that we have a digital imperative to change? I think the data shows that most do, yes, but I was really struck by James' data showing that the organizations that are going slowly are also the ones that don't have leadership that are open to external forces, right? So I think you're right, Bjorn. We're seeing leaderships often forced to confront digital change because it's being imposed from outside. So I think those are the two forces. You realize that you can do a lot better on your own. You look at and you see what new ideas are out there, or the market forces you. I think there's a third category of companies that haven't had exposed to either one of those, and they're the laggards. And what they're going to do, I don't know. If you look at the MIT's data on how the average lifespan of an S&P 500 company is dropping sharply because that third category of companies isn't making the change. And I think that's what's going to happen is going to be the question of our day.
I think the key thing is about as you said, new mindset. It's not a new mindset. As you said in your thing, there are companies doing that for 20, 50, even 100 years. It's just the scale has changed. It was just not impossible to do that kind of thing with a 100,000 people company, just a pure scale of a global organization. But the mindset is exactly not new. We are kind of more getting back to how we did entrepreneurial organizations. I think we have lost that in the last century a little bit by the scale of the globalization. But we are going more back and not inventing a completely new world there.
Sure.
I'm a member of the French Commission for digital transformation of the business in the MEDEF. And we have an in-depth discussion the other day regarding some numbers. And coming back to your point, it's the urgency which is going to lever the change. Think one thing. On a 4-year basis, if you are moving toward digital transformation, you are going to increase your margin of 44%. If you don't move, you are going to reduce your contribution margin of 25%. Then you are going to die. This is really the point. And what are the difficulties to move forward? Is really the forward thinking of leaders, and Frederick is really demonstrating the forward thinking of a leader. Second point is rigidity at the organizational level, which is really the challenge to tackle. The talent of people in terms of digital talent and maturity of talents. And third as well, which is, let's say, the capabilities of given companies really to think out of the box. And which is quite a challenge. And we're talking, in the meantime, transformation and innovation. And innovation is not so much the innovation in terms of products, it's certainly the innovation in terms of services, but it's more a question of innovation in terms of organization and in terms of business model.
Jane, would you agree with these additions to the recommendations how we can go forward?
Yes. With hesitation in my voice. I come back to one of my major tutors, which was, it is a question of mindset. And mindset is not just in the C-suite where we don't have a problem with it. But I don't really honestly know what the answer is. There's so many ideas out there. Talking about age of enterprises, the living company. He analyzes companies that have lasted for hundreds of years and talks about the criteria, 4 criteria for those, one of them being going to environment. And I think that today we have so many different pieces, so many different ways of thinking, food for thought. I think it's really important that every organization find their own way. And I think that's the big challenge. It has to happen inside the organization.
So I was just curious, one of the trends I see anecdotally, talking to a lot of companies, that there are change agents in organizations that against even leadership's wishes, they're creating and using these tools. And we know the trend for shadow IT, people just remaking the workplace for their own applications, their own devices. That's a very real and very big trend. Yeah, and so despite, one place that gives me hope for that third category of companies is that despite themselves, we still see people in the organization are trying very hard to improve it anyway. And so I just want to add that to the conversation that there is hope, I think, for many organizations. But it has been, when I talk to these people, these change champions who rolled out social networks or collaborative tools of other kinds, running it under the radar and fighting the SharePoint team or whatever it is, it's a hard existence and it goes slower because the data now shows that. So it's very interesting. Yeah,
the risk of failure, and the risk of failure also of the dismotivation of those enthusiasts is that, as we heard from Thorsten, this shadow IT won't be integrative, and it won't be also not strategic. It's not a really strategic enabler. It's more on the departmental side.
Yeah, and it shows what's possible, but yeah, it's not the solution.
Frederick,
maybe I would like to step back a bit and get back to but maybe we a way of thinking is does the organization does the mindset of the organization is based on what we could say in French resilience and in English resilience in English, and is there something in the motto of the company always right thinking that says and if we were dead tomorrow morning and prepare to change business model way years and years before the company is mature on another market. It's a way of preparing the future, which is inside the company, but it takes resources. So the resources for the resilience, you don't have them in the net results of the company. You burn them every year to be resilient, so to stay on the top of the curve for many years. So I'm not sure if I'm very clear, but maybe this resilience is not very compatible with finance-oriented companies.
We've made the hard lessons at Microsoft and exactly this kind of how to make a resilient organization. And the key thing that I learned is it's all about time. We are moving to a time where we have to think very different about time in two ways. We have to move to look very much in longer time frames. The key thing that Satya Nadella did when he made the new strategy for Microsoft was just reconnecting back 40 years ago how we started. We started as a productivity and platform company. When we invented MS-DOS and BASIC and Excel, there was exactly that kind of thing. And we have to move to much quicker time to say, okay, what do the customers need now, or next week, next month, and this combination of doing much longer view and much shorter view at the same time. You cannot choose, you have to do it, it's a kind of integrated way. that exactly reflects what you say as a resilient organization, the stability. You know, every organization looks for stability, and stability comes not from not changing anymore, but coming from a constant change, from a stable change. And this is, I think, the key mindset. It's not about future innovation, whatever, but it's a different view on time and stability and security. And I think that's a hard way, you know, because it goes so much to the core of what we are leading. Isha?
I would like to make a survey. Who in this room has read the book Anti-Fragile from Nassim Taleb? Okay, it's a book to read. You have to read this book. We're talking about designing the digital transformation, and this book is just about anti-fragility, which means how to survive in a world that we really don't understand. This is really the point. And the point is not really to plan, not really to forecast, is how we're going to be able in our company to, let's say, exploit all together the potential of the situation of the company to survive, to grow, to enjoy, which is really a challenge, okay? And we are learning that. We are all the inventor of the new transformation in a world which is digital, nano, robots, everything, bio, okay? And this is a challenge. And I think we have to remember that, okay? We need to think out of the box.
Okay, as we are running out of time a little bit, I want to pose a last question to you all. So we have these different discussions within the next 2 days on different practices, on recommendations, how to do the transformation process and the future model. If you are in front of somebody who's asking you, what should I do? What are you asking? And from picking out of all these different things, what do you think it's, for you, it's a good aspect or an important aspect to tackle next?
So I would add to whatever these my distinguished panelists say that we need a different mindset in terms of change. Our strategies really can't be developed and followed for several years. What we're really seeing is that change has become almost continuous. And that to marshal an organization around an idea means defining a strategy clearly and keeping it updated so that everyone can be part of that. And that change process has to involve a wide area of the organization. Local change, we're learning now, is extremely important. If you're going to change a large organization very quickly, it requires a lot of people to be on board, and that requires a clear vision and clear documentation on what it is you're trying to achieve, and that means co-creating it with those change agents.
Misha, I really don't know, okay? I just want to pick one. And the point is, in order to tackle this complexity, which is really the name of the game, and be on trust, which is also, let's say, the necessary condition of survival. It's certainly to be sure that everybody is having fun and pleasure in working, where work is going to change every day anyway. Trust.
Complexity is the keyword I would like to continue. I think we have to go back to basics in terms of really where we started from as hunters and gatherers. You know, we were in a world which were complex, which is dangerous, where we're just changing, but where we have an abundance of resources and opportunities. And I think to get back to that really original mindset and rethink that in the new environment, which is completely different than the old environment, but we are still the same people. I would recommend every leader to take this time to go back to the basics and to rethink their business model, their culture, their organization in the new environment, and take the time for it.
Frederick.
Maybe I'd be right and maybe it's not a change in the company or the organization that is important, but a change in our mind. I mean, can we consider that our day-to-day life is an everyday success, and it's very difficult to live our lives very simply. And so maybe with working with someone, we could start seeing what he did well every day, instead of pointing out what was wrong sometimes.
Great. Jane.
Well, I had lots of time to think. I would say if I were in front of a CEO, a C-level person who said, what should I do? I would say, go and talk to the people who are at the edges of your organization. The ones who work with customers, who deliver to customers, who make products in different countries. Forget headquarters, forget your business models, forget your strategic thinking, that's all important. And get out there and talk to the people who normally do not see, know nothing about how they work. And then after you learn that, then take the step of, okay, what should I be doing?
Thank you very much. Give them a big applause for these great recommendations and this keynote discussion. Thank you.